Hello, we are live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jerry Norton. This is my wife, AnnMarie, and welcome to the Family Mastery Show.
Yeah, it's been a few
Montana
weeks.
edition.
Montana edition for sure. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, we've been traveling. Those of you that don't know, we live part of the year in Puerto Rico, and then we do summers and a little bit during Christmas at our lake house here in Montana.
You can see behind us, we got kids out there playing right now.
And this is a fun summer for us because we've been renovating the property here for 3 years now, feels like.
Such a long time.
Because we've done massive additions and everything you can imagine. And so this summer, we're not really doing big renovations. So we're trying to actually enjoy the summer a little more.
Actually do some vacation and visits and all the things.
That's actually the topic that we wanted to focus on tonight was actually how we travel with such a big family. You know, most entrepreneurs, at least maybe leave a comment in the chat if this is you, but one of the big dreams I had when we first started on our entrepreneurial journey was to be able to travel and go see the world, both in the United States and out of the United States. In fact, that was a big part of our decision to homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of people ask us, you know, how do you guys do it with such a huge family with 10 kids? Because we travel quite a bit. Not just back and forth from Montana to Puerto Rico, but we do Europe. We try to do road trips all over. And we've kind of learned some really cool, maybe some hacks, some tricks, some ideas around that we thought we could share tonight with you guys.
Yeah, not even just that, but kind of some of the meaning frames, the reasons why, and just kind of some of the different things that travel can do to stimulate just connection and experiences. And so not just the logistics of it, but why we think travel and living in multiple places, you know, homeschooling, all the different reasons that we think that it's so valuable. And any other questions or anything that you guys have around living a lifestyle that goes back and forth and just really being able to kind of cultivate the experience of different circumstances kind of trigger us to do different things, and putting yourself in a completely different surrounding can do a lot for education, for relationships, just for kind of the experience also as entrepreneurs with how hard you work and being able to rejuvenate yourself. I saw some questions in here that were asking about health. I think the mental health, the emotional, the relationship health, like kind of systems and SOPs that we have around specific trips that we reverse engineer for the year, making sure that there's a birthday trip for me, a birthday trip for Jerry, an anniversary trip, that we have one-on-one trips with our teens. There's a senior trip every time somebody is, a senior in high school. Or there's different ages when they turn 8, when they turn 12, there's specific kinds of birthday parties that we do. Or right now we're cultivating and kind of pulling together. Our oldest daughter is getting ready to go abroad and be in Europe for 3 months. And so we're putting together a whole curriculum for her to be able to read all these different, classic literature, be able to explore. And we can't be in Europe that whole time, but we are friends with another family. So we're just trying to really think outside of the box. I got to grow up in Europe. I wanted her to be able to have that experience. Each of our kids is unique and different, and each of their different ages and stages, individual trips, or where we combine a couple kids at a time, or it's just about our relationship, or it's just about us being able to, rejuvenate ourselves and sit back and kind of recuperate from the intensity, and learning how to be an entrepreneur and working at the same time while you're on a trip, also learning when to step away. So we just felt like it's vacation time. We're at the lake house. There's so much to cover in reverse engineering on purpose, a trip, or, just living in multiple places, exploring different places that really change your lifestyle.
I think too, something that happens to me here when we come to Montana is we try to slow down. We try to do lots of day trips and explore, and we're outside a lot. We're on the lake every day. And it's a time to be reflective. And it's also a time where I get a lot of creative ideas. And I know you do too. So it's when you switch up that environment and you put yourself into a place like this, this view out here of the lake and the mountain, it's one of
magical.
It's one of the
I
most
wish
beautiful.
People, it doesn't do it justice
Yeah.
on the camera, but when people actually come here, there's just an energy.
There's
I know
a vibe.
I've read like positive ions with so much nature around and trees and the water and the sounds. It's really, really invigorating and makes a difference.
And travel isn't anything new. We did almost a year-long RV trip. We've talked about that on the show a little bit about 10 years ago. And we left everything. At the time we had 6 kids, pulled the Suburban behind the RV, and we just hit the road and we traveled around the country for about a year. And I think that might've been your introduction to really dialing in a lot of systems and processes during that time that have carried over to when we went back to a house. And even travel now.
We look at, and I know Jerry's done some posts about this before with just a specific strategy of, moving often, which everything has its pros and its cons, but definitely, especially living in like a different culture on an island right now, living in Puerto Rico, having lived in Europe before, or doing the RV trip, like it's really fun to be able to see some of these different circumstances and unique ways of living and the way that they do get integrated into your everyday life and systems that you're kind of compelled. When we lived in the RV, we didn't have a washer and a dryer and we had 6 kids. So we had to figure out how to be able to like not have laundry be drama and this everyday thing. And we learned about laundromat and multiple machines and only having enough outfits that you are kind of compelled to do laundry once a week. And when we figured out that system and it wasn't an issue anymore, we also got to experience the focus that life, can have when you don't have laundry going in the back of your mind, or the relationship drama or the resentment that would maybe get triggered by either one of us seeing big messes full of laundry. And then we don't feel as connected, or we're not able to focus on our business, or our parenting isn't on point because you're just kind of aggravated. Your nervous system is like activated from things being not intentional. And so getting to figure systems out like that, because we're compelled to, either because of the size of our family or because the different places and the complexity in where we're living, that we're forced to figure it out. And then we get to see the other side of like, wow, we were compelled to have to figure this out, and look at the focus that this brings. Look at the, satiation or the peace that comes when laundry isn't an issue, or we can really like compartmentalize our life and be on the road and really be able to experience vacation, but also really be able to still maintain our business and have a certain time of day where we can go away and we're not working at all, which I definitely think that there's goodness in that also, but sometimes it's just not possible and your business is in, different ages and stages. And so we've gotten a lot of experience kind of figuring that out too.
Yeah. So AnnMarie, traveling, we have some stuff here in Montana. We have stuff in Puerto Rico. We go back and forth. Maybe let's talk about that one. What are some of your best ideas to travel with kids? We do it with huge crew and it's nuts. There was a post we put on Instagram where it was like funny. 12 suitcases and they're all lined up in a row and we're at the airport.
It was 12 suitcases.
But what are some ideas around that? Because if most people, you've shared this before, and I find this really fascinating. If you have 1 or 2 kids, you can sort of get by without really creating too many systems and processes. But as you start to have a lot of kids, you have to, or you'll go crazy.
You're compelled to.
And so, you're compelled to. But because of that, there's some really phenomenal ideas and strategies and tips that we've learned along the way. So where would you like to start? What would be some really great travel ideas?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, honestly, too, like I know the logistics are kind of fun and we should do a YouTube video about that to actually be able to get the visual of packing and the way that we live in like our normal home is almost like we're always living in vacation mode, in that I only let our younger kids have 7 outfits so that the outfits don't overflow. And we have these big blue Ziploc bags that I can fit multiple inside one suitcase. So I'm not having to pay for a suitcase per kid or have too many suitcases, but I can also still separate and compartmentalize each kid's clothes. We roll their outfits up with a rubber band so that they're already matched. And that's just what we do as soon as we're done washing
like a
them.
shirt, shorts, a pair of underwear, rolled up in a rubber band as an outfit.
Yep. You just grab the whole outfit. And, we live like that all the time. That's not just a vacation thing. And because we've traveled enough, like we've learned to do the prep work that a lot of times I was doing for vacation so that we could experience more things, that I would do it for just vacation. But then I was like, oh my gosh, if we do this all the time, then our life can kind of feel like a vacation. Like we can be ready at the drop of a hat. So there's specific things for flying. You can imagine what it's like when our whole family gets onto a plane. Buddy systems that we have, definitely a backpack full of tricks we like using, moon sand and kind of different manipulative things and coloring and entertainment. We still are also completely fine with having an iPad that's got some games, just, whatever, to be able to be entertained with. We have long flights. Like for us to go from Puerto Rico to Montana is pretty much the same as when we would go from Michigan to Europe.
It's like 8 hours of airtime or whatever it is.
Yeah. It's a long time for the kids. So helping things go right, having a good mindset around that this isn't drudgery, but this is something exciting. So we start packing the airplane bags weeks before they're out on the table. It's the same. I pack like the basics of their airplane bag right as soon as we land from our last trip. But then the last little like food surprises, and I think I've got some stuff on my social media that can give you some like 25 years ideas worth to have little kids be excited. And my bigs, it's really cute. Our sons that have served missions overseas, when they left the family for 2 years, were like, do I get an airplane goodie bag when I leave? That it's what I want to talk about even more than the logistics, because those are fun and they make a difference in having, an easy system of everybody just having a blue bag to be able to carry all their clothes around, but is the framing that is around it and the mindset and the way that you can draw out connection or anticipation, variety, and all of these things that we want to experience in our life, that you're able to draw out in an easier way through travel. In my opinion, we're a Disney family. We've been a Disney family, and the anticipation is a million times better than the trip.
Yeah.
When you're actually there.
So we talk about it a lot ahead of time. There's always a theme. Every time we travel, we try to have a theme or a purpose. What is it we're trying to accomplish? It's usually some sort of a connection or relationship, or maybe a tie into things we're learning in their homeschool.
Yeah.
And so then it's just becomes very intentional.
Yeah. A lot around our homeschool. And Disney, for example, we've used Epcot, especially, which is the like more educational park that has the countries that are around the world. And so specifically too, when our kids turn 8, they get a special trip where they get to go to Disney. And when they turn 12, and what we did is we kind of were like, when you're turning 12 and you're moving into becoming an adult, used framing around each of the rides that we're talking about different ways of being. And we've learned the kind of core character attributes or the core desires of Walt Disney originally. And the reason that he put the park together was for learning things and having fun as a family and learning. It wasn't just about entertainment. And so we've read a lot of the classics in our homeschool that, Disney has done movies about. And so we have specific attributes and like themes even to talk about when we're in line at the ride. For example, Pinocchio is all about integrity and honesty. And we get really excited about being able to do the trip while we're reading the book. And so that's just one example. I mean, there's so many other
Like we went
kinds
to
of trips.
Switzerland, we did what was the movie?
Heidi.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so, yeah, just trying to tie in that connection and that purpose and be intentional about what we're doing.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of it, like the systems and the processes, seem to sort of fall into place if you're thinking ahead of time. Okay, how can we make this trip really meaningful so that everyone's excited about it? There's a purpose to it. There's some tie into how we're going to connect as a family, things we're going to learn, things we're going to explore.
Mhm.
And that's just one of the things that, AnnMarie, you're just so amazing at, is everything we do is so purposeful. So if we went camping, a
Yeah, we
weekend
had
ago,
all 10 babies in one place
and
with their
two
wives,
wives, the
two
oldest
wives,
two.
and we
It
were
was
camping. It was amazing and crazy. I should see pictures. Our 3-year-old was completely covered in dirt. But there was an intention, and it was not to stay clean. It was to be able to just be in nature and not have any technology distractions and be, connected and figure out how to be work together to pack. It took us like all day to pack just to camp for a day.
Yeah, everybody had jobs of things to get ready.
Mhm.
Somebody had the blankets and pillows. Somebody had the tents. And
Yeah.
so then it was this collaborative effort. Everyone was
Mhm.
excited about going and doing
Mhm.
it. So it just built up this experience now that our family will talk about that. I mean, we made really fun memories.
Yeah.
We went jumping in the water, and we went on
We
hikes
saw
together.
a moose.
Yeah.
This beautiful, scenery. So it's fun and it's an experience, but it's also, something that we're passionate about in using real estate and teaching people about real estate to use it as a tool to be able to reverse engineer just the kind of experience that you want to have in your life. And for us, we had a big family. And so part of the experience that we are trying to, use the resources that we make from real estate, or even use the character attributes and the skill sets that we develop as we work on our business to be able to, cultivate a way of being. And so being able to use something that is invigorating and got a lot of variety and just like so many different ways to make something intentional by traveling out of your everyday. We just wanted to share because we are like, travel is such a tool for us, just like real estate is such a tool for creating a dream life. Travel is, and for so many more reasons than just relaxing and like not having anything to do, but also for connection. I mean, some of the trips that Jerry, like we went to Europe for the first time, just the two of us. But we went and we were on a marriage retreat. So we were learning hard principles at the same time as being able to relax, at the same time as being able to just be with each other without any of the kids. And that wasn't, so much like an educational show the kids kind of thing. That was with a more intentional of, we are trying to cultivate passion and connection and just fun in our life. And what can we do to do that? And obviously you can do that. You don't have to travel. Like even doing an at-home date night, or where we're saying to the kids, mom and dad are having a date night in our room.
Well, we have a couple adult only cruise on the boat every
when we're
night.
in Montana.
We're in Montana.
Go on the boat. The kids like to do boating and be crazy. I get motion sick, so that's not my favorite. I just want to go really slow. And it's like a little SOP that we have to be able to connect with each other at the end of the day and have like a little bit of adult time and relaxing time. So we just wanted to throw out a whole bunch of like different systems that we've used. But we want to be able to also get to everybody's questions.
Yeah,
we're seeing lots of them.
Let's get to some questions. There are a lot of them, and
questions about travel, even other questions that you guys have. We love to be able to share and hear other people's suggestions also.
So, were you married to me before we were rich?
Yes, I was. definitely.
Yeah. So if you don't know, we started out with absolutely nothing.
We couldn't afford meat for our sandwich. We would eat cheese and mustard
A slice
sandwiches.
of cheese and mustard. Yeah, we had a rat infested apartment that had like
I think it was
lead
a
paint.
mouse infested. It wasn't a rat.
Mouse infested. Yeah, we started with nothing, and it took a
really
little while.
young.
Yeah, we started
We
young. I was
really-
21. You were 18. We didn't even start in real estate until 27. So we tried to, figure things out. We started the family right away, and so no, AnnMarie definitely did not marry me for my money, and you must have saw some potential.
Lots of potential. He was a hard worker. He was a hard worker and positive and really playful with any kids that he was around, which is really handy with our size family.
At the time, I just didn't have much around me in way of entrepreneurship and business ownership. So, I didn't really have good mentors or anybody in my life kind of helping direct me in that direction. So but I wanted something better. I knew I wanted more financial freedom, a better life for our family. I just didn't quite know how to figure it out. So it took a little while. And then when I was 27, found wholesale real estate and got started there. And it was like, I was made to do this. Yeah. And then we haven't looked back since. And it's been 20 years now since we started that. So we've been married about 25 years married.
Yes.
Right?
More like 25 and a half.
Yeah. And 20 years in real estate. So yeah, that was definitely our beginning. Let's look at this question here, AnnMarie. This is a health question. I think you mentioned this. And Joel, thanks for joining. Joel's so supportive. He's on the wholesale hotline and he's always just a great support. So thank you for being here, Joel, and for all your questions.
Keeping the conversation going.
Yeah. So we try to be very active. I mean, one thing is we could never go to the gym again, but we would be probably getting our steps in.
My watch is always like halfway through the day. You've hit your goal, like your steps goal. But especially in Montana.
AnnMarie and I try to go for a walk every morning, just the two of us, a brisk walk, whether it's Puerto Rico or here. That's our sort of alone time. We start the day that way.
We kind of start and end with alone time. That's part of the health. I know everybody maybe wants to talk about exercise, which we do. I'd like us to be able to do more. We have different things exercise wise we go back and forth with, but the for the things that are most important and most satiating too, I think it de-stresses, brings the cortisol down. So we've got a connecting time in the morning and a connecting time at night. I'm a big believer in supplements. So I don't have it down here, but I have this huge tray. So I've done a lot of research about whole food supplements that I make us both take. What else? We're big on water.
Try to eat good.
We menu plan. Never having any sort of treats, but it's definitely, I think, more the exception that most of the time we're eating good stuff and every once in a while to kind of try to keep it balanced. So,
yeah. Another question, Joel, when you were switching from blue collar, how stressed were you and how did you make it to the next? So that transition period is the most difficult time when you're starting a new business, or maybe it's not the most, it's one of the most, because what you're doing is you're trying to maintain, your full-time job, pay your bills, support your family. If you have a family, support yourself, and you're trying to start this new side hustle, this new business. And so for me, it was full-time job, which was outdoor underground construction. So I was out in the weather. It was muddy. It was dirty. It was physical labor. It was very gruesome, hard work. And then I was doing mornings, nights, lunch breaks, weekends, real estate, and did that for a while. And it wasn't, I don't know, maybe a year or so after getting started to when I was like, okay, I'm ready to go full time, and then transitioned in full time. But that was a very hard time on our family, hard time on our marriage, hard time with the kids.
Yep. I was scared to death.
We had three, I think we had 3 kids maybe at the time, or we were about to have our third.
Yeah, we had 3.
And it took a lot of, I wish I would have done this better, but it took a lot of helping AnnMarie and the kids have a unified vision of okay, dad's not going to be available because he's working so hard, but we're doing this for a bigger cause. We're doing this for a reason, and it's going to be a sacrifice. And that conversation we have to have all the time. Like next week, we're doing community camp, and it's going to be a crazy week.
It's going to be so fun, but it's going to be
It's
really
gonna be a lot
intense.
of work. We're not going to be able to probably be together as much as we'd like next week, and away from the kids and getting some help with, so because it's going to be just a busy week. So we call it, but we're already talking about what the purpose is of this, why we're doing it, why this is good, how they can be a part of it, what they can learn from this. You and I are having conversations every day about how we make the most out of the experience, what we can do together through it. And so we try really hard to not just let things happen and be, a victim to circumstance, but rather really think through and make the most out of what we're trying to do. And if that means something hard's coming up, or work's really busy for a minute, or whatever it is, that don't just assume that everybody around you is going to just be patient and understanding. You've got to help them catch the vision.
Yeah, for
what's
sure.
going on.
And I was really struggling to catch the vision initially with what Jerry was trying to do. And we were both
with real estate.
Yeah. We were, just in moving from that secure blue collar
paycheck every Friday
to something that was new and novel that I didn't understand. And we were both immature. So his, capacity for presenting a vision was not as developed. My capacity for seeing a vision and maybe my risk tolerance was definitely much less at that time. But yeah, like the beginnings and looking back on some of our ways of being in those earlier stages where we were willing to take some of those risks or willing to be intentional and say, hey, we know this is going to be uncomfortable, but we're choosing it on purpose because we do think it's for the greater good of an experience that we're going to be able to create down the line. Like we have to take care of our present selves and we want to take care of our future selves. And sometimes your present self is like, I just want to break. And then your future self is like, but I need you to invest in this thing, even though your present self is saying this is really hard. And that's one of those things for anybody who doesn't know. Community camp is, Pace Morby's event. And we're going to have about 400 people that are going to be here at the house, and just an awesome opportunity for, we've got our people that are coming as well, for real estate investors to be able to, get together. And it's an awesome opportunity for our family to be able to serve in the community.
We're hosting.
Yep. We're going to be hosting here at our house. So for our kids to be able to pull together and the work ethic that it's taking, we have a deadline. There's, like we said, we've been in construction in this house for 3 whole years. We're not completely done yet. There's still these odds and ends. There's plenty of time in these last few weeks where we've been, we hosted a family reunion. All my siblings were here, and we had all 10 of my kids that were here, and we were doing camping and boating, and there's been lots of fun. But we're excited to use this community building opportunity to exercise the muscles of, making a deadline with our kids, working together as a family, doing some hard physical labor. And so it's in hindsight, we can see some of the ways that we pressured ourselves to do something hard, that we're being able to see, hey, we have a little more capacity to do that than we did. This is a beautiful thing. We want to share it with our kids. And when you think of it as developmental, then you look back on 25 years and you're able to see, I developed a little bit more and more of this attribute, as time went on. And then you think your past self.
Yeah. So some interest in your supplement regimen.
Oh,
do you have a list of all your supplements?
I did, but I've added so many. Actually, no, I do have an updated. List.
Maybe we could share that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's like a handful of like this. It's like a lot.
So the thing is a lot of people don't know, we have a couple kids that have Crohn's disease. And then I went through a pregnancy-induced heart failure. after baby number 5. And so my heart function was significantly reduced, and I was on a transplant list. And it was a really scary time where I learned that you cannot take your health for granted. I'm all good now, but I'm completely convinced that the success that we've had in overcoming Crohn's and some other really rare medical things. We've got our 6-year-old that's going through some things right now. And just the numbers game that we've played with having this many kids and different things that they could have go wrong with their health, that we have learned, like everything else, that the preventative in life. I do blood sugar recording. Jerry has been trying to do that, but he's allergic to the adhesive. So I don't have diabetes. I don't have pre-diabetes, but that's the point. That runs in my family, and I want to be able to prevent it. So learning about these different supplements that can keep my heart really strong, keep our cortisol levels down. Like, we just want to have an amazing life experience and hit it on all sides. And so the actual physiological, like, how do we take care of our body? It is really important to both of us, because we can't travel. We can't have these experiences. We can't
If you don't have your health,
feel madly and deeply in love with each other if you're really sick. And sometimes that is out of your control when that happens, but whatever we can do to keep it in our control. And can we do better? Absolutely. Do we want to do better? Like, always. I think we're always looking towards that.
Love this question by Joelle, about your community. I think you're asking the right question. And so if by asking the right question, I think you'll find the right answers. It is very, very important that you find, some people, they can get the support they need right in their own family. Oftentimes not, because sometimes, as much as you love them, could be stuck in some limiting beliefs and try to and hold you back. So being around other people that are like-minded, that have similar, vision and ambitions, is very helpful, especially for young people. So, for example, one of my sons, he's 19, Jonathan. He's really trying to learn wholesaling. He'll go hot and cold. He'll go really strong and be consistent about doing his calls, and then life happens, or gets busy, or things go on, and then he'll miss some days.
Yeah, just like everybody who's learning it.
But we've paired him up with a friend of his that's his age, that is actually a next door neighbor in Puerto Rico. And so what they do is they actually get together and they do their calls together, and they're so much more likely to do it. And it's more fun. It's more, they're more excited about it. They feed off each other. The energy's high. And so any chance you can get, if you're struggling with that, if you're feeling like you don't have that support in your life, then get around that right community. In time, I think, in fact, I feel like this personally is community becomes less and less of a necessity. I don't wake up feeling like, man, I wish I had some motivation to go do the business today. I jump out of bed excited. I don't need anybody, pushing me. I push myself just fine. And so there tends to be, maybe that's just something with maturity or age, but I definitely see this very strong need, especially for young people, to have that community and to be aligned with people that are going to help them get to where they want to go. Right. So,
yeah, well, when you're learning something new, especially, in this industry, we definitely still have like our core community. It's just maybe a little bit smaller because we've narrowed down through age and experience exactly what it is that we are trying to cultivate, but you don't know that right away. So I think having a community where you have some variety of different examples that are like, these are all examples that are really inspiring to me, it helps you kind of narrow down what is it that you are specifically trying to create.
Yeah, for us personally, in real estate at least, our community, our coaching program is called Fast Track, and we intentionally keep it very small. It's very small because with the limited resources, the limited time that we have, we find it more fulfilling for us. It's not right or wrong. It's just what we've chosen to do, to work with a very small group and be intimately involved in their day-to-day, their lives, their deals.
Which we love, because we're used to a big family. So, it's not really, really small, but I was just on coaching call with everybody today, and we were talking about just cultivating and the vulnerability of wanting and being able to like cultivate abundance in your life in the face of having deals fall through and, you know, getting back on the horse again and trying again, not making it mean something, and being able to see, you know, some of the different students talk about the happiness that they feel that they never thought they would be associating feeling happy while making mistakes in their deals. That like getting to see them experience right now happiness and not, oh, I'm only going to be happy once, you know, the deal all goes exactly how I want, is something that is cultivated in a smaller group. I think in just a more intimate way that's part of what we've kind of always gravitated towards, so in smaller community.
In that program, like our live trainings are very small groups, maybe 10, 15 people. That's all we'll do in a group.
Everybody
Weekly,
can ask questions.
I do a live call every single week. You do a live call every single week. We have a few other people, and it's really fun because we're a small community. We're very involved. So like a lot of our coaches are doing deals with our students. Our students are doing deals with each other. You know, same thing you get in a big community, but it's just fun to start to get to really know people, and it's what works for us. So by the way, guys, you can check that out. Go to fasttrackwithjerry.com. It should be Jerry and AnnMarie, but fasttrackwithjerry.com. I do want to get to this question here. I find this a fascinating question. How should a wealthy man navigate and manage the temptations of being with other beautiful women while maintaining respect and fidelity in his relationships? I mean, honestly,
excited to hear the answer to this.
I mean, honestly, this is not just a wealthy man needing to navigate this, but probably any man. I think when I see this question, one of the things that is immediately coming to my mind is there's a lot of shame around sexuality, and men struggle a lot with this, where there's this idea around temptation, and if you're feeling tempted, or if you're noticing attractive women, this idea that somehow there's this shame around this, there's just guilt around this, something wrong with you. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Something's wrong with you. And if you're living a life like that, then what you're doing is you're not recognizing that there's a human part of you. There's an animal or an instinctual part of you. And there's nothing that you're going to do to not notice an attractive woman. You just are. That's how you're built. It's meant that way. God made you that way, intentionally made you that way. What makes you unique and special as a human is you have choice. And so you can choose what to do with that, what you make it mean. And so just neutralize it. Like my suggestion would be neutralize it. Like you see a beautiful woman, that's an attractive, beautiful woman, and I don't need to go anywhere else with it. Like of course I noticed that. Of course that's normal. But by neutralizing it, then you take away all this shame and guilt that somehow something's wrong with you.
Which doesn't activate your nervous system.
Which only is going to lead you into, shame and guilt just lead to more shame and guilt.
More stupid decisions.
And attract more of the wrong choices in your life. Yeah. And so the way I look at it is, I want to be a sexual being. That's a very important priority in my life. But I want to cultivate the kind of sexuality. I want to choose to use my sexuality in a way that's going to create goodness in my relationship with AnnMarie. It's going to create connection. It's going to create intimacy. I want it to mean a whole lot more than just a physical experience or a sensation or whatever. I want it to actually have a lot of meaning. And so that's what I cultivate. That's what I try to strive for. And so, AnnMarie and I, we're constantly working on how do we increase our emotional, physical, all areas of our lives, our business relationship together, our parenting relationship together. And so by putting that as a focus in our lives, and when I say focus, I mean, we're constantly learning. We do multiple marriage retreats a year. We listen to things. We do coaching. We do counseling. We do everything we can to, just like we teach in real estate, to learn how to be a better real estate investor, to gain more skills. Why would that not be the same thing in your relationship, in your marriage, right? It's no different. If you want a better marriage, you have to put a lot of energy and focus on making it better.
Well, and I think a lot of times we just specifically talk about marriage or just like the relationship part, but we don't talk about the sexuality part as much. And so something that I know Jerry's developed is a real sense of integrity around his sexuality, in not coming from this reactive place where you're afraid of whatever, you know, sexually relevant things that are going to trigger you, but that he's learned through the course of our marriage and just becoming a more mature man to have, like, use his sexuality from inside as an integral, like, it's a way of him being honest, of this is a way of being like, how do I want to use my sexuality? How do I want to show up as a sexual being? And framing it that way, instead of, you know, oh no, I'm so afraid of whatever reflexes or reactions are going to happen in my brain to something that is sexually relevant. That being married to him, I've been able to see the way that he's developed sexuality as like a way of being, and an integral, on purpose way of being. So,
So, yeah, I mean, Joelle, I direct that energy at AnnMarie daily, all the time. Like, I'm just thinking about today, multiple times today.
He does.
I notice you. I tell you how beautiful you are.
Does.
I eye gaze to you. Yeah, I look at you, and you see me looking at you,
I can tell,
and desiring you. So, what for me, because it's important, and I like that energy. It makes me feel alive. So I direct it often at AnnMarie, and I cultivate it. I let that well up in me. I want her to know, I find you so beautiful. I find you so attractive. I want you. And I tell her that every day, multiple times a day, sometimes.
He does.
And so it's, I don't think though that just will happen all by itself, because life gets in the way. In a marriage, it's so easy for life to get in the way. And not that we don't get on each other's nerves, or we don't annoy each other sometimes. We do, you know, but I'm just saying that, I'm very intentional about directing that towards AnnMarie, cultivating that, and seeking that out in my life with you.
And I try to have integrity in the way and what I choose to do with that energy also, and not take it for granted, to be able to reciprocate it and to appreciate it, and just sit in the beauty of sharing a life and being desired, and sharing a life with somebody who's choosing me, whether he's choosing me physically or choosing me emotionally. That I'm not entitled to that, even though we've been married for 25 years. Being able to sit in the gratitude of that, I think also helps to have a place for it to land. It helps me to be able to cultivate that energy back, or cultivate it myself and direct it at him first. He is ahead of me a lot of times on that. That's one of his superpowers. And I draw him into the relationship more in an emotional, and you guys hear me talking like the meaning frames and the depth and the story of our relationship, and the on purpose intentional activities that we can do to draw it out. But Jerry's so good at being present. And just, I will get caught up in what's going on with the kids and what's going on with our everyday. And he does really good to bring me back to life has fires, life has things that have risk and that are hard. But one of the most beautiful things about being married is sharing it with somebody, or having at the end of the day where we can physically connect or emotionally connect. And you still have all those problems of trying to run a business, and you've got health issues with your kids, or you've got things that you're worried about with them, or like the maintenance. We're definitely feeling the overwhelm of, it's a first world problem and a blessing, but it's a lot to maintain our two different properties. Here in Montana, we have multiple units so that we can have our kids come and stay home. And so we're going through the growing pains of trying to figure out systems to be able to take care of two different places. And if you let it, like, your whole life can get caught up in just the mundane every day. There's always a list of things to do. But we think that God gave something like marriage or relationships to make all that mundane things that we need to do to survive be more enjoyable and to be able to thrive.
I think one tip maybe that's helpful for us is, the energy in a relationship has to have polarity. So there has to be this mix between masculine and feminine energy. And if too much of the same is happening, then that attraction just doesn't happen as well. And so oftentimes we are very much in the same, like you'll get into your processes and systems, and you have a part of you that's a very masculine, driven, directive, type of energy. And sometimes I have a bit of a feminine side where I want to be out in nature and I want to be,
spontaneous and free and flowy.
And so, but we know that in order for us to really connect at a sexual intimate level that way, then there has to be that polarity. So there has to be this masculine, feminine role
that you have to create space for.
And you have to make space for that. Yeah. So we work on making space for that.
It's hard.
Yeah. So like, for example, when we do our morning walks, we don't do it very well all the time, but we really try to not make that about getting something done, the list of things, the business.
Yeah. Or at least a few times a week, we'll say, okay, we can tell we need to just reconnect this energy.
It might be a date night and you dress up really pretty. And so we're trying to create this constant energy that, and so
I'm trying to draw out my feminine. Yeah. So even for me, doing my hair and picking out an outfit and, accentuating any of my feminine attributes helps me to cultivate and draw more of that out. So whatever it is for you to help you, be able to feel when you feel authentic, and when you feel free, and feeling free is what is also passionate and amazing, because you are that's your time to be unbounded and real and honest. And that's part of that polarity.
Yeah. So I didn't think we were going to be talking about that tonight, but we want to make this what's on your mind.
Whatever questions. It's a big part of life. I don't think people talk about it enough. It's come up a few times now. I think
we'll talk about it.
Yeah. We talked about, talking about sexuality and helping to teach your kids, the same thing. What do they do when there's beautiful women? We have 7 boys, how do we help them to not have shame over their sexuality, but to use their sexuality for good? And I think I saw a comment here of somebody who is calling themselves an ex-player, and happiness that has come stepping away from, just maybe that sexuality being used for not exactly what you want it to. And what you want it to is going to look different for everybody, but it's just more about being intentional instead of reactive in anything that we're talking about on this live.
Yeah, so we have about 10 more minutes, guys. I did see some real estate related questions. I don't know if we want to jump into some of those. We try to make this about, relationship, working together as a couple and marriage and family. But we could do that too if there's not other questions. Did you see any other questions that might have been, important to get to?
I don't.
I saw one question. I saw one person asking about a bubble coming in real estate. So, it's always hard to predict what real estate is going to do. Honestly, for me, the way I look at it is I'm not overly concerned. I mean, I'm paying attention. I want to know, and I want to anticipate what's coming, but it's not like whatever is coming is going to cause me to not do what needs to be done. And what I mean by that is if the market explodes and goes up, then I'm playing the game. If it crashes and goes down, I'm also playing the game. So I'll just play the game differently based on if it's up or down or sideways. And I think when we get fearful about okay, is the market going to crash or is there a bubble coming? If we're asking that question so that we can adapt and move on, great question. Let's talk about it. If we're asking that question because I'm somehow fearful that I'm going to lose money or my business is going to fall apart, I just want to encourage you not to bring fear to that idea around the market correcting. Bring energy that's more around, I'm excited for whatever change happens because I know that I'll adapt quickly to those changes and keep going. I think we have a little human being wanting in.
Hi, Rosie. 1 minute. Okay.
You can let her in if you need to.
Yeah.
We have number 10 at the door.
Number 10.
Okay, so having said that, I guess I could talk about it a little bit. I mean, interest rates are going to be coming down, and demand is still very high. There's low supply. So I think we might actually see the market rebound and values go up in the coming year. It's an election year, so who knows how that's all going to play into it. There's definitely policy that's going to be going on around the political campaigning. So, Biden right now introducing a 5% cap on rental income. That's directed to try to win a vote with the Gen Z crowd, who's very concerned about rent rates. So, some of this stuff is, it may not even happen. It might just be saying it's going to happen. Then you get the credit that you're appeasing that type of group. Some of these things could be very harmful and very damaging and have a long-term impact. So we do definitely need to be aware of what's going on, how those things are impacting. I look a little bit more closely at my local markets. I want to try to pay attention to what's happening at that level. I also pay really close attention to how regulation might be affecting things or what strategies are working better. And so that's kind of where I try to put my focus. I don't put too much into the macro. I'm still paying really close attention to it. I follow the real estate news very closely, the market, interest rates, and those things, because I do want to pay attention to see how that impacts. But it's just like, whoever's in office isn't going to change how I do things. I'm going to still make money, do business, and find ways to be successful, right? Okay, so hopefully that helped with that question. Do you see another one?
I don't. I was still looking.
Okay.
Entertaining with Miss Evie here.
Okay. Prior to my question above, will I be able to change brokerages, or would I have to wait a year? So let me see if I missed that part. Who was that? Okay. I'm not sure what the first question might have been. I'm not seeing it, but I think you're asking about a brokerage. Let's see.
Oh, there's Ingrid.
Oh, Ingrid. Yeah. Let's say hi to Ingrid. AnnMarie and Jerry love the marriage retreat. We just got to Kalispell. Looking forward to seeing the Nortons.
Fun.
Yes. In fact,
yes,
guys,
Ingrid was at our marriage retreat,
yes,
and she was amazing. We had so much fun.
I want to put this up here if it'll let me.
Doing our very first marriage retreat, talking about the systems and these different concepts, developing a sense of self, developing a sense of belonging, and kind of finding the balance between the two, and all the different SOPs that we decided that we're going to do another one. We've been kind of going back and forth.
We decided today, actually.
Yeah.
The site's not quite updated yet. Well, it'll probably be on Monday, but if you guys are watching this or listening, we're going to do another one in November. We haven't nailed down the exact date, but we just want to let you know that, because there were some people wanting to go and waiting, and scheduling didn't work. But I loved the retreat we did. It was so fun to spend time with Ingrid and her husband, and that small group we had there.
This is water.
Felt like we made
by the way.
Yeah, that's not a Coors Light.
It's not alcohol. It's not caffeine. It's just water. Before we get any, water. Yeah, it's just water.
Yeah. But yeah, I can't wait to see you too, Ingrid. It's gonna be great this next week.
Yeah, and connecting with so many in the real estate community here in Kalispell. But we just love the like-minded community of people who are trying to do things on purpose, and that's what we are talking about with travel. And like we said, you don't have to travel to be able to cultivate some of these different things. It's an SOP that's worked for us to be able to try to create the kind of experience that we want to create. But it's more just about doing the things to experience the kinds of things that you want to experience, the kinds of feelings, the kind of connection, the kind of, novelties or whatever. And you can create that in a staycation. You can create that in so many ways. The point is just, we love getting on here and opening up the conversation with all the different ways, all the different options of doing that, to be able to, be inspired and come up with your own.
Yeah. So I found that question. You were talking about your brokerage. So quick question. I just passed my exam. Can I change brokerages? I've decided to join a team or go to Keller Williams. Please help. Okay, so I'm part of Real Brokerage. I know Ingrid as well. She's part of a team with Real. I'm part of a team with Real, and we grow our own team. So we have people that come on our team, and we actually work with our team every single week. I've got a team leader that works with all of our team members, and we do weekly live Zooms to help them, grow their real estate agent side or their real estate investing side. In my business, we merge the two. So we do some real estate listing stuff and we do some investing, obviously. And so if you'd like to check that out, just reach out to us. Let me know, because you could become part of our team or another team like that. I think that's really important. The reason why I like Real is because you can build a team around you and be compensated. So it's very similar to the EXP model. I just really like Real. Okay, so yeah, you definitely can. You can change brokerages anytime you want. There's no lock in any certain brokerage. Okay. Yeah, Ingrid made a comment about the market. Let's pull this up. I spoke to a big lender and they expect rates to come down. Yeah, all the talk is that rates are going to come down probably another percentage point. But I also agree. I think we're seeing some shifts in the market. I'm seeing a lot of downsizing happening. So I think people are kind of resetting a lot of things. Mom, so I'm seeing that as well. Ingrid, I think you're right there. So right now, now's the time to get lean, right? Now's the time to really, you should always be doing this, but now's the time to cut the fat, to cut out anything unnecessary. I think you want to operate a very lean operation right now, just with some uncertainty that's going on. Okay.
Jerry for president. Love it, Ingrid.
And I got a toothbrush.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I got a toothbrush.
Okay.
Thanks, Mom.
Joel's got another great question here. I think right now in a market like this, how are you speaking and building better relationships with agents when they consistently get offers from investors like us? What do you do to stand out? Yeah, I love that question. You do have to create a competitive advantage. I call it a competitive advantage. This is where, if they're talking to 10 other investors like you that are calling on the same property, how are you going to stand out? And so I'm always looking for that angle with that agent. So first of all, you better be double dipping. Like, don't try to represent yourself on the buyer side, offer that side to the listing agent. That alone should eliminate some competition. Now, a lot of people have caught on to that strategy, so you're still going to have some competition if you're double dipping. So what I'm trying to do with that agent is I'm trying to talk to that agent, not about the deal at hand necessarily, but more about, hey, how can we do a lot of deals together? What can I do to serve you? Do you have other properties that you're having challenges with selling right now? Is there a situation where you might be talking to a seller and they just don't want to list, and I can come in and help you there and still compensate you? So I'm always thinking about how to talk that way and help that agent see that I'm not just looking for a one and done deal, but I'm looking to create a long-term relationship where we can do a lot of business together. And that seems to really help. The right type of agent resonates with that. And I seem to somehow get to the front of the line often with having that type of a mindset with them.
This is kind of a funny comment
Which one?
From Miles. Change gears a little bit.
Which one?
Right here.
This one?
Yeah. Cut that down, Rosie and her.
Mommy, I'm trying to
Our oldest daughter is 17, almost 18, but she's definitely in the noticing boy mode.
Phase.
So we'll pass on your info.
It's named Ellen.
She's quite the entrepreneur too. She's
a Norton. I think
Yeah.
of all of our kids, she is the most closely related to her daddy.
She
The
is.
most like her dad for sure.
Yeah, she gets stuff done.
Mama.
Even than any of that. Yes, you're like your mama. That's
And
true.
my dada.
All right. Let's see here. I was always so thankful to be able to build a relationship with Pace and Jamil, but finally glad to hear a chance to build one with the Nortons from the lives who introduced us to them all. Yeah, you're welcome, Joelle. Thank you. We're happy to do it and excited to do it. Love doing it. So
excited to be a part of the community and just, everybody I think who's in real estate for the most part that we've learned is just trying to create an intentional life. And the more that we can inspire and help each other, and there's lots of different ways to do it. But we love being a part of that conversation and just trying.
Yeah. And so let's end with this question. This is kind of right in line with what we want to do on these lives, but how are you able to manage, I think it says manage being there for the kids and building the business? Well, first of all, it's not easy, right? Anybody who has any kids
juggling right now.
Yep. It's not easy. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of forethought, a lot of work, but we try to integrate those two quite a bit. So I see a lot of people and they compartmentalize work and home. And there's certainly a place for like, be present with where you're at and what you're doing. But we find that the more we can bring in the family and bring in our kids and help them understand what we're doing, why it's impactful, why it's changing lives, how it blesses our family, other families, help them see that vision. Talk about it as often as you can, because they may just look at what you're doing and not really see how that's affecting them, or not really see that there's a bigger picture. And so if they don't see the bigger picture, then they're much less likely to be supportive. I know when we moved to Puerto Rico, it was fantastic because, that was a big move. Our older kids had to leave friends, teens, sports, jobs, things. And yet the way that, especially AnnMarie positioned that and explained like why we're doing this, they all got behind it. They were all supportive of it. And they all were like, okay, this is the right thing to do right now for our family. And so it was really amazing to see them buy in, but that didn't just happen. It happened because we're very intentional about helping them see the bigger picture all the time.
And I think reverse engineering the time that they do need for it to be just about them and not about what's going on with the business helps them to then want to be a part of the business. When you are doing the work to really figuring out for all the different ages and stages, how much time do they really need with the parent? When do they tend to need it? And, I started to notice patterns with, little kids before nap time, or teens as they were coming home from being at a job or at a friend's house. I learned that with older kids, if they have their hands busy and they're helping out with making dinner, that I could get them to kind of talk a little bit more about what was going on in their life. So I think the discipline that we talk about in entrepreneurship sometimes is so much more about the discipline that you have at home and with your big rocks, these relationships that are so valuable, that you want at the end of the day to say that you have a connected relationship. You want to say that you were a present parent, that you gave your child everything that you could. And so when you're not being disciplined and putting the investment of whatever that investment that you think it is first, it's very distracting for your business. So what we talked about at our couples retreat and what we've learned with each other is reverse engineering that perfect week to be able to figure out these are the times of the week and the day where I do need to be really present with my kid. And when they know and they can rely that time is happening, then they are much more supportive, and it's good for them to not be the center of the universe all the time. But when they feel this deep, satiated need being filled, and they're kids, they're never, like all of us would love to be the center of attention all the time. And that's not for any of our greater good. But when we do really be disciplined about, just like we do in our relationship, that couples time that we have in the morning, that is for that only and nothing else. And you have that kind of discipline, I think the kids feel like, okay, I know when my time is coming. And as a parent, you don't have the parent guilt anymore. So when it's time for work, you can really focus on work. But when it's really time to be with the kids, you really do have to exercise the discipline to put the phone away and get to their level, whatever that is. So for our 17-year-old who was coming in late at night, it was being present and having a conversation with her about boys. And then, for our 4-year-old boy, it's, I don't want to talk to you. I want you to kick a ball with me. I need to be physical right now. And this is how we're going to connect. And so it's just really important to be honest about what is actually needed, not what you just want to do in that moment.
Yeah, I do want to answer this question maybe before we wrap up here. my house is worth just under $1 million and I own it. I have zero credit, can't prove income the conventional way. So you probably won't be able to get a line of credit. You could do that. Like if you could qualify for a line of credit, what I would recommend you do is just do a cross collateralization. Now, what does that mean? It means, let's say it's worth $1 million. Somebody would probably lend you $500,000 or $700,000 against your property. So think about it this way. You would just do a lien against it. They would lend you the money, and then you would be offering your house as collateral. And now you have that 500,000 or whatever it is to use for real estate. Just know that now you're going to be on the hook for that money. You might owe an interest rate and interest payments, but I cross collateralize assets all the time. So I'll own something over here free and clear. I'll use that as collateral for a real estate loan for something else I'm doing. And so that's very common to do in real estate. So that's one thing that you could do with that.
You see, Elena's here.
Oh, Elena. Hi, Elena. Where?
She said I got here late. Elena's
Are we going to
awesome.
see Elena next week?
I think so.
Okay.
She's also at our couples retreat and was helping us out with some of the parenting
Yeah, that was awesome.
advice. She's awesome.
I got my hair.
Yep. Okay. Good. Well, guys, we're out of time. Excited to have spent this time with you. We're going to try to be consistent again now that we've gotten through this transition from Puerto Rico to Montana. Next week might be a little tricky.
Next week is still going to be,
Yeah.
it's going to need to be different days of the week with some of the stuff that we've got going on for the summer.
We might do something fun though with Heather Blankenship or somebody maybe.
Yeah.
But so watch for those links, guys.
Because it won't be this. It can't be the same day, but
Yeah.
we still want to be able to try to find a time to jump on every week.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. We sure appreciate you. And it was great to spend the evening with you for a little bit, and we'll see you again soon. Thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
Take care, guys.